Happy Friday, everybody. It is stitch along time. New start. Today, I am starting a stitch along for Ginger Gerald's pattern, Stories of the North, part 1. Here's a nice close-up of the pattern. You can see what we're going for today. Such a pretty pattern. And I'm going to start with the heron in the middle. You are welcome to join in with the stitch along at any time. There is there are no rules. We're starting today, but it's pretty loosey-goosey. If you want to join in a week or in 2 weeks or a year from now, there will probably still be people stitching this a year from now. Hopefully, I'm not one of them, but you never know, might still be me. I have got my fabric ready to go, so I thought that I would share how I've prepared myself here to start. So this is a piece of 32 count Belfast linen in the dirty linen colorway, and I used the cross stitch calculator last night to determine the size of the piece of fabric that I needed. So I cut it to size, and then I serged the edges. I serged the edges so that I could avoid the fraying of the fabric on the Q-snap, the edges of the fabric on the Q-snap. One of the best purchases I ever made was this really inexpensive used serger. It's an old Singer that my friend Adrienne was selling, and I think she paid $75 for it used from a sewing shop. So they had refurbished it, and she used it for many years, but then she wasn't doing as much stitching, and she's not a sewer, and so I asked her if I could purchase it from her, and she agreed. So I use it. I don't use it a lot, but for those times when you really are desperate to start a new project and you cut your own piece and it's a bit messy around the edges, that serger it's kind of a nice thing to have. You can also do it with a sewing machine, just using a zigzag stitch, or you can, do it by hand, just a running stitch all the way along the outside of the fabric. And that keeps everything neat and tidy so that you don't have a lot of loose threads being lost. I have already marked the center of my design, so I know that my bird is going to be starting just a couple of stitches off of that. I've got my clamps ready to go, and I also have some quilt batting. This is some old leftover stuff from a few years ago that's been kicking around for a while, and I usually cut a few pieces down to put underneath the clamps to help hold the fabric just a little bit more taut. So I actually put these on the side of the fabric. So I lay them down underneath. I'm sure everybody has their own different way of doing this. This is just how I do it. So no hard and fast rules here about anything. So lay my quilt batting down, get my general shape there, and then this is also a useful trick when your fabric it's just a little bit small for your Q-snap. Having this piece of batting will help that one side that's a little loose. It gives it a little bit of extra grip around towards the outside where it's bound to keep slipping out of your frame because it's a little bit too small. So, and then I just put my clamps on here. I try not to slide the clamps too much because I don't like how it can distort the fabric. So I will try to work my way around. There, one more. There we go. Now, I've been asked before, why do you put your fabric on backwards? Why is it on? Why don't you have your fabric this way? Because this is the back of my fabric. The reason I do that is because, so this is called stitching in the ditch, or in the well, I suppose. I guess there's a few ways to describe that. The reason I do this is because, first and foremost, it keeps the front part of your fabric clean. It keeps it really clean so that, you know, when your hands are on it all the time. Now there are, you know, you can purchase grime guards and use grime guards. I have a few around my other Q-snap, but I actually don't have an 8-inch size here. I think it's up at the cottage. I think. Actually, it might be on my ink circle. That's right. It's on my Ink Circles Forest Flower at the moment. So I don't have it handy, so I'm just going to carry on because I don't really need it for today. Nothing here is too much terribly in my way of where I'm going to be stitching the hair in there. Okay, so I'm ready to go. So, oh, why do I have it backwards? The first reason was to keep the fabric clean. The second reason was it is a lot easier to sew in your ends on a Q-snap when the back of your fabric is flush against the backside of the Q-snap. It's very simple. So, and I've got my Birdie needle magnet ready to go. I also like to have this on the opposite side while I'm working, and I will take it off. I also plan on taking the Q-snap clamps off of this project when I'm not working on it. I think it'll be better for this. It's better for your fabric. I don't always do it, but I think for this one I will, only because it's hanging over quite a bit. So anyways, Ginger Gerald's pattern is charted for 2 blues, and I believe the DMCs the DMCs that he charted it for were, let's see, 519 and 517. So the 519 is the lighter color, and the 517 is going to be the much darker color. I am going to be using some of the floss from the summer kit that I was selling. So I have chosen these 2 colors, Caroline Calm and 6 a.m. Sky, because I think they're beautiful together, and I can't wait to see what they look like. So because I'm starting with the heron, he is a darker blue. So this is the first time that I'm breaking into one of my blue threads dyed by Nancy. So I'm going to, let's see. Oh, it feels really nice. If you're lucky enough to have some of her floss, it's really nice stuff. So again, she says right on here, if there's a DMC conversion to the thread that she dyes, she'll list it right on here. So the 6 a.m. Sky, the conversion is 3840, in case you really like this color. DMC 3840 is the conversion number for this one. Okay, so we are starting with this. Now I'm thinking the way that this is, I'm in 32 count. So I think I'm going to cut, oh, you know what? I'm just going to do one strand at a time. I was going to cut all of it in the middle, but I think I'm going to keep the long lengths for now of the remainder of that floss, and I will put it back on the card when I'm done. However, for the stuff I'm using, I'm going to cut this length in half first. Go. Again, the trick to pulling out individual strands of floss is to hold it firmly between thumb and forefinger on one hand, separate one strand out, and gently pull it out of the grouping. So there's one. Remember which side is up from the one you've taken out, because you want them to match. There's number 2. And then just smooth out the remainder. It's a habit. I wind the rest of the leftover floss around my fingers, making a little circle, put your two strands back together again. This ensures that there's no twist in the thread and they will lie as smoothly together as you can get them. So I thought for this one, I had a little think about how to start it. Sometimes I'll do a pin stitch start, so on and so forth, but I think with this one I'm going to do an away knot because there's a lot of stitching in the body of the heron. So I'm gonna do an away knot. So I've got my knot ready at the end. Just let me find the middle of my pattern. Where is it? Gerald has his pattern. He's got the center of it marked with two very faint red lines. So just a little clue there in case you're having trouble seeing it. It's a little bit faint, but if you do look, and that might be my eyes also. That might not be the pattern. I think it's my eyes. So there's a red dotted line that meets in the middle, so I know where my center is. And so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my away knot. You come in from the front. So I'm going to put it down here where I know the body of the bird is going to be carrying over. So I know that this is my center here. So, and I have to start, where is it? So 1 square over from the center. So now I can take my pin out and this may have been ambitious to try and do this in this particular setup with my vision. So I'm just going to bring my light a little closer. 32 count and my eyes without having it close up to my face can be, let's see, I just want to make sure I'm on the right track here. There we go. Okay. So pretty. It's so pretty. Nancy's thread is gorgeous. Gorgeous. I'm hoping, I'm considering ordering her Christmas sets that she is going to be putting out. I'm hoping it's not out already. I missed out on the grays. I considered ordering the gray, but I think I'm definitely going to get in on the Christmas ones. Okay. 3. So as I work my way down, I will be covering up that length. I'll be working over top of this thread here so that when I have enough, all I have to do is snip that off and my end will be already buried underneath the stitching. Can you hear that? That's the loudspeaker at my son's school. They have a speaker system that broadcasts out into the playground at recess time, which it is right now. It's around 2 o'clock, I think. Yeah, it's just after 2 p.m. on Friday. And so I can hear all of the children outside screaming and playing and running around. And every once in a while, you'll hear the principal come on over the loudspeaker with a message for one of the students or staff. And then you'll hear the bell ring and all the kids will give a giant shriek. And in they go. I have seen the next 2 patterns in Gerald's series. So this is part 1 with the heron. And I have seen part 2, And I have seen part 3, and they are lovely. And I can't tell you anything more about them other than the fact that I'm looking forward to stitching them. So I have an idea. If you're watching this video and you see a whole bunch of edits, it's because I have a lingering cough from my cold, which is still hanging about, much to my dismay. So I keep having to clear my throat and cough, which you certainly don't want that in your ear. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this back after I'm done recording it and edit those coughs out. So I apologize if it seems to be a little bit chopped up today in the editing, but that's the reason why. So finishing techniques for these. I do plan on stitching all 5 of Gerald's designs, and I am going to be stitching them on individual pieces of the same fabric. I don't know if you remember, I said I was going to take a trip over to Stitch It Central, which is the new LNS here in my city. But then things really went sideways this week with water leaking into our living room again, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. But I didn't get a chance to go. And I also thought, do you really need to go and spend more money on fabric? Surely you have some fabric. Because when Thread and I closed, I wasn't shy about purchasing things from their shop when they were closing down. So I thought, surely you've got some stuff in your stash that you can look for. I think, have I done? Yes, I have. Oh, shoot. 1, 2, 3. I did one too many threads here. I'm going to have to rip out these stitches here. My eyes are such that with a project like this, I have to take my glasses off and put it right up close to my face, and then I can see it really easily. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. It's only 3 stitches. So, what was I saying? Lost my train of thought. I was talking about the flood. I was talking about going to Stitch It Central. So anyways, yes, I did. I bought a whole pile of stuff from Thread and I right before they closed down, and I knew I had purchased some linen. So I went and had a better look through my drawers of, I don't know, what would I call it? My drawers of joy, my stash pile. You all know it. And I found a huge piece of this 32 count. Have I even been in the frame this whole time? Let me move that back. Well, forgive me if it was a little far forward there. 32 count Belfast linen, dirty linen colorway. I found a whole huge piece of it, more than enough to cut out 5 individual pieces for Gerald's design. So I plan on stitching all 5, and then I'm going to find some beautiful fabric that coordinates with the colors, and then I am going to turn it into a quilt as you go wall hanging, if that makes sense. So I'm going to lay out all 5 of the designs. So they're not huge, right? And I'm thinking I will lay them out lengthways. Lengthways? Horizontally. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. With a small strip of fabric in between them. And then fabric on the top and the bottom. And then quilt it. And then put a binding around it. Put a dowel on the back. And have a really beautiful wall hanging at the cottage. I can see it in my mind. I can see it in my mind, and it's glorious. Does that ever happen to you? You know exactly what you want, and you know exactly how to make it happen. You just need the time to do it. So that's the plan. All right, so now I'm starting the body of the birdie. See, nicely gone over that thread there at the back. There are a ton of sirens and such today outside. Here comes one now. It's coming pretty close. We live near a fairly busy street here in London. Hopefully the people that it's headed towards are okay. I always think that when I hear sirens. I hope they're okay. Okay, body of the bird. Here we go. And there's a very mild variegation in this floss, which is so pretty. Very subtle. Kids are still outside screaming away. They always sound like they're having so much fun. So our washing machine is back in business. My sewing space is back in business. The side of it that was wet. I know it seems ridiculous, doesn't it? You know, fool me once, shame on you, washing machine. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times? Okay, that's just ridiculous. So I have learned my lesson. All of the stuff that went back on the shelf are in boxes. Plastic boxes. Nice ones. So it looks nice, but they are protected. It shouldn't happen again. Shouldn't. But I'm going to go with the law of averages here, and I'm going to not have to worry about this again. 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can count to 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I split that one a little bit. 6. 7. I get the nicest comments from people who enjoy these little Stitch With Me videos that I put out. Had a hard day, a hard week at work, and being able to just hang out together with a little bit of quiet chit chat and some stitching. It's pretty good, isn't it? I like it too. You guys say the nicest things, leave me the nicest comments. I read every single one. There we go. Finally was able to watch some floss tube this week, and boy was that fun. That was so nice. So I fully intend to continue watching floss tube tonight, though I'm going to be hanging out with my son, with Nicholas. I'm not sure at the moment what Sarah's plans are, but Nicholas and I are going to be hanging out tonight. My husband has headed up to the cottage. It's another reason why I'm happy I'm stitching this right now. It's nice for me to think about him being up there while I'm working on this piece that reminds me of my time up there. So, speaking of him headed to the cottage, there are gale warnings on at the moment. So, Gale warnings mean that the wind, I believe it's when the wind is stronger than 30 knots an hour. So 30 to 35 knots an hour. The wind at the moment is 35 knots. And the wave height is 2 to 3 meters high. What is that in feet? What's 3 meters in feet? I can't calculate that. You'll have to do a Google search. It's high though. It's pretty high. Those are high. Those are scary waves. I would not be on the water. I would not. You couldn't pay me enough to go on the water during a gale. My husband, he loves it. I think he's crazy. So, oh, what have I done here? I have messed this up. I'm off. This one, is it just this one? No, it's the one before it. Aha, I came up in the middle of that stitch. All right, one moment. I'm gonna tidy this up. Okay, so I'm gonna go back out where I came in the wrong spot. Now, I think my problem was back here. There. Now I went over 2 threads. Very tricky to see this without having it right up close to my face. There we go. So yes, he's on his way, and he's not concerned at all, but I have asked that he message me the instant he is safely at the cottage, which should be not for a few hours yet. They probably won't get up there until about 6 o'clock tonight. So right around the time that I'm sitting down for my Friday off the grid stitch in, because tonight I am 100% stitching for 6 hours from 6 p.m. until midnight. I am going to be working on this. I'm going to work on my saddle piece, and I'm also going to probably put a few stitches in my twisted band sampler, and then I am switching out projects. So I'm going to put a different project on my floor frame, and I haven't quite decided yet what that's going to be. But I think the twisted band sampler, I've made pretty good progress on it, and it's time to put it away for a little bit. That's the plan anyway. But 6 hours. Selfish stitching tonight. It's going to happen. Just a bit of a heads up about the shop, about Evertote. If you missed the shop update yesterday, just a bit of news. I will be closing the shop tomorrow morning, Saturday, August 20th. It's not August. This is the 3rd time that I've done that. Saturday, September 22nd. I am going to be closing the shop down for a little bit because there is the potential of a postal strike. Canada Post, it looks quite likely that they're going to go on strike next week, and I do not want to have a bunch of bags out in the mail without, knowing that they're going to reach their destination in a timely manner. So I thought it best just to close the shop down until we're sure, or until it's over, and just concentrate on making new bags for the next shop update. So that's tomorrow morning. So September 22nd, 9 a.m., the shop will be closing down, and I will have all of the bags that have been ordered up until that point. They will be out in the mail by tomorrow. No later than tomorrow. This is so pretty. I know it's just a teeny tiny little start, but I love it. I love this thread. Okay, so now that my end is pretty secure, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of my waist knot. There we go. Good to go. So let's thread up another length. Any big plans this weekend? I know one of our Facebook members is going to a wedding. I believe she said her brother was getting married today, which is exciting. Weddings are fun to go to, aren't they? One of these days, I'll remember to have my needle threader in every single location that I stitch, and then maybe I won't have to lick my thread. I probably still will lick my thread because I am a creature of habit. But anyway, I sew my end in the back. I tuck it under 3 or 4 stitches, and then I take one more small stitch at the very end of where I had it, going the same direction, closing that. Oop, doesn't work every time. Sometimes if I tug it a little too hard, it comes out, but it shouldn't. So this is called a Bargello tuck. Pretty fancy way to say that you've sewn your end in. There we go. Neat and tidy. So I am at this end. So let's see, we need one more. There. Knitting tutorials will be starting up next week. We are going to be learning how to make socks. I have my yarn ready to go. I just need my needles are currently in another sock that I'm just finishing up. I need to knit the toe. So I may try to finish that up this weekend, or I may try to find a different needle. But I'd really like to finish that first pair. Here we go. So my plans this weekend, with John away and just hanging out with the kids, we're gonna have a quiet weekend, and I plan on spending some more time in my sewing space organizing the new bags that are coming, my tasks that I need to accomplish over the next couple of weeks for those. I've got a few other ideas kicking around for things that are happening in the next few months with Evertote, and I've got some more organizing to do in my sewing space, more things that need to be put away in boxes. And then I'm going to knit and stitch the rest of my weekend away. It's my favorite way to spend the weekend. There. We're just going to finish to the end of this row. Can you see the very slight color variation? Is it coming out in the camera? See how the top here is a little bit lighter, and then there's a little bit more, just slight shading on the side there. It's super pretty. Well, I hope you've enjoyed hanging out with me today. Hope you've enjoyed some stitching of your own. We've stitched together. Hope you put a few more X's in your project. And if you're joining me with Ginger Gerald's pattern for the stitch along, we have a hashtag on Instagram. It's hashtag Stories of the North Part 1 Sal. And if you go on my Instagram page from today, I posted a photo this morning for the Sal, and it has the hashtag that we're using right in that post, in case you have trouble remembering. And what else? You can post your pictures on the Facebook group, the Friday Off the Grid group, if you so desire. I hope you do. I hope you share it. It's a lovely little pattern. There is some over one over one for the blueberries. And I can already see that mine are going to be teeny, 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 tiny on this 32 count. But that's okay. Better than 40 count. And there we go. On to my next line. Okay, that's it for me today. Got a little bit more work to finish up tonight before I can start my stitch in time at 6 p.m. And I'm really going to have to edit this video for all of the coughing that I did today and get it loaded up onto YouTube so that we can stitch together. I hope you have a wonderful weekend with lots of stitching and lots of time, enough time, just enough time. Sometimes, you know, our lives are busy and we don't have a lot of time, but sometimes we just need a few minutes, just a few minutes to knit a row or put a few stitches in or touch fabric, you know, feel the threads, squeeze some wool, something creative. Just something creative. Just a few minutes. Sometimes it's just enough to make us feel good. Feels homey. We're the last day of a heat wave here. It's been incredibly humid. Temperatures, you know, in the mid-30s with the humidex. And I heard rumor that today is the last day, and tomorrow our temperatures will become much more seasonal again, and I cannot tell you how exciting that is, because my favorite clothes come out of the closet, sweaters, all the things that I like to wear at this time of year, my boots, my coats, my shawls, my wraps, all of the good clothes. And I start to look forward to, dare I say it, snow. And a whole bunch of other Canadians and people who live in climates that get snow just shouted at me. But you know what? I can't help it. I just can't help it. I'm a sucker for snow. All right. Well, okay. Now, I think this is the second time I'm going to say this. I really better go and get this up. It looks like a little bunny rabbit now, doesn't it? The part that I have done looks like a bunny. Cute. Have a great weekend, folks. And I will see you on Monday for a floss tube update. Happy stitching.